Hey, I'm Tron. Welcome to Word, your daily Bible chapter exposure. This is Exodus chapter 4 with 31 verses. Here, Moses isn't very happy with God's calling in his life and does everything in his human power to shrug responsibility. His insecurities get the better of him in verse 1, but Moses protested again. What if they won't believe me or listen to me? What if they say, the Lord never appeared to you? What if? Those words can either elevate us to our greatest potential or imprison us in our own minds. In the case of Moses, if God did not actively push him in the direction he needs to go, he would be herding sheep the rest of his days, not leading people. The Lord counters and reassures him, giving him signs to present to Pharaoh and his court. His shepherd's staff forms into a snake and his hand into a leopardess mess before turning back to normal again. And as the third sign, he is told to take some water from the Nile, pour it out on dry ground, turning it to blood. Even with these tools in his toolbox, Moses, being an introvert, still tries to reason with God about all this. He's not a public speaker. In verse 10. But Moses pleaded with the Lord, "Oh Lord, I'm not very good with words. I've never have been, and I'm not now. Even though you have spoken to me, I get tongue-tied and my words get tangled." I can so identify with that. I can most times not get my mind and my tongue to cooperate. Speech does not come easy to me either. But God listens to him and has his brother Aaron appointed as Moses' spokesperson. Now, without any more excuses, Moses departs for Egypt with his wife and son. It is safe for him to return, as anyone harboring a death wish on Moses have died. God tells him what he needs to tell the new Pharaoh in verse 21. And the Lord told Moses, "When you arrive back in Egypt, go to Pharaoh and perform all the miracles I have empowered you to do. But I will harden his heart, so he will refuse to let the people go." Moses gets the Reader's Digest version of his stay in Egypt and the exact explanation of the reason why his mission will not succeed at first. This will all lead to the event that will finally release God's people in verse 22 and 3. Then you will tell him, "This is what the Lord says. Israel is my firstborn son. I commanded you, let my son go, so he can worship me. But since you have refused, I will now kill your firstborn son." This is followed by a very puzzling situation in verse 24. On the way to Egypt, at a place where Moses and his family had stopped for the night, the Lord confronted him and was about to kill him. This verse is incredibly cryptic to me. Going from strange to stranger, Moses' wife Zipporah circumcises her son and touches the discarded part on Moses' feet, calling him a bridegroom of blood. And God leaves him alone after that. What's going on here? Moses is finally following God's calling in his life, and the Lord is about to take it away? And why now? Why here? Shouldn't the Lord have brought this up sooner in conversation, perhaps? It seems a bit drastic. And then Zipporah immediately jumping to the cause of it all and circumcising her son. I think the best explanation here could be that the family is traveling just days after Zipporah has given birth to the couple's second son, Eliezer, passing the 8th day required for circumcision. Moses then falling deathly ill and Zipporah begrudgingly doing what is required before him feeling better again. It just seems to fit better, but it is still very mysterious. Meanwhile, Aaron, the older brother of Moses, is called by God to travel out of Egypt into the desert and meets his younger brother at Mount Horeb. There Moses explains the situation to him, and they travel back to meet the Hebrew elders in Egypt in verse 31. Then the people of Israel were convinced that the Lord had sent Moses and Aaron. When they heard that the Lord was concerned about them and had seen their misery, they bowed down and worshipped. The first part of God's plan of intervention has worked well, but as God has forewarned, dealing with Pharaoh is another matter. And that will be tomorrow in Exodus 5. Until then, Word.